you're not gonna get the right people if your purpose isn't right. If you're having trouble with profitability, go back to your purpose. Oh, I love this room. You know what's amazing about all of this is watching where Follow Up Boss started to be where they are today. It's unbelievable. I've had the opportunity to be friends with Dan for a really long time and the rest of the team, and watching how they're really maturing their business and going to that next level reminds me a lot about the way that we should be thinking about our business in real estate. I mean, the way that they're investing in people and technology and process and really getting honed in is exactly what I want to talk to everyone today about. One of the biggest issues that most people in this room are going to have is going to be figuring out how to remain profitable. Like, that is going to be the biggest thing. And there's a lot of different ways to look at profitability, right? When you're a solo agent, you know, that hustler mentality, you're essentially trading your time for dollars, right? You're taking the appointments. You're likely profitable if you're not spending too much on marketing, but then all of a sudden you have this transitional point where you decide, I want to become the CEO. Right? I don't have the time that I used to have. Maybe your family is growing, your personal obligations and priorities are different, right? So you make this transition, but for most of you in the room, you don't really have any experience being a CEO. And the luxury that so many people had over the past 10 plus years, where the macro conditions were set up perfectly to look like a genius. And now, all of a sudden, that's all shifted. And I want to share today just a little bit about the way that we think about profitability and some of the things that we've done, not standing up here to say like, hey, I've got it all figured out, or we made every step in the right direction. We stumbled a lot, but I want to share some of those things with you today because I think it'll be super valuable for you to bring back to your organization. One of I think the biggest thing to think about when you hear the word profitability is that's not actually where you go first. You have to go back, and so many of the presenters so far have touched on this, but I want to share this with you. You have to go back to the beginning, which is your purpose. That's where you have to go. Like, your profit that's way down the line, and it starts with your purpose, because you're not going to get the right people if your purpose isn't right. And so if you think about growth and you think about where you want to go, if you're having trouble with profitability, go back to your purpose. How clear is it? Are you aligned with the people in your organization? Do they fit what you believe in? Those are the areas where you want to take a big, deep dive as soon as you possibly can. I've seen so many organizations that have this piece wrong. You want to look at retention issues? Go back to your purpose. You want to go look at why your seller or your buyer opportunities aren't right on the conversion side of things? Go back to your purpose. So much of everything that happens here comes down to who you are and what you believe in. And if you get that piece right, the rest of it changes. Last year at FUBCON, I shared, and I said, it was spot on for the time that we were in, and I could see it coming. I said, nothing in the past is going to matter. People sold billions of dollars and thousands of houses. It's what you're going to do moving forward that matters. That's it. That's what it's all about. And if you notice around the world today, every single thing in business is around some sort of purpose, some sort of meaning. Like, why do people in your organization, including yourself, show up every single day? What are you trying to do in this world? And I love some of the slides that Tom shared earlier, like asking yourself questions about what does the next 5 years, the next 10 years, the next 15 years, the next 20 years, what does that look like? Because if you can't answer those questions as the leader, how can you expect other people in the company to provide answers to you? And if you get this piece right, the profitability comes. But if you are just a transactional-based place to be, they're going to leave you for the same reason they joined. A better split, higher signing bonuses, different share plans, this, that, and everything else. When they're connected to purpose and like, hey, we're going to change the world together, whatever your mission is, they're not going to leave. And they're going to feel like they have meaning. And when they feel like they have meaning, they're also going to create legacy. for the people around them. You know what it's like to have someone in an organization that's super happy when they go home? They get support at home. People feel good to say, like, I love that they work at this company because it matters. The things that they're doing are different. Like, all of the things that you think about around any sort of challenges in any market that you've seen come down to the way that we feel. Right? I love the book that was mentioned earlier that talks about the 5 things that are never going to go away because they're human needs. Start thinking more around Maslow's hierarchy of needs. AI and the rest of the stuff are super critical for the tech side of things, but make sure you don't forget that there's still human beings involved, right? And if you keep that as your North Star, you're not going to run into a lot of issues. The other thing that I want to bring up and I think is super important is that I watched earlier when there was a question asked around how many CEOs are in the room? How many visionaries are in the room? How many operations people are in the room? You know that most of the people here have high vision. Most of the people here have high vision. But the markets that we're in today and where we're headed, you know what matters more than all of it? Finance. What does your finance department look like? Most of you don't have a CFO. Some of you don't have a budget for a CFO. Maybe you go a layer level, maybe you go a layer below, which is a director of finance. Maybe you go a level below that and you go controller. Maybe you get someone fractional. One of the biggest changes that we made in our business years ago is I really started to feel like our back office tracking expenses weren't dialed in. So I went out and found the best auditor that I could find to audit every single process in our company when it came to finance, everything. I said, I want to know everything that's working well, where we need improvement, and where we're like really have got major issues and we better get them fixed quick. She spent 12 weeks diving into our entire company. I had 12 pages of problems. 12 pages. And keep in mind, we were a very profitable, super successful company when I made this decision to do that. The problem is most people make that decision when they're already in the red. And so for those of you that have had some good years, go out and get really serious about your finances. I can't believe how many people in real estate don't know their numbers. They don't know their KPIs. They don't know their leading indicators. When you look at this entire business today, when you think about everything that you have, like, can you look at a scorecard? Can you look at a dashboard? And do you understand your business quickly? If you don't, you might want to look into it, right? And some of them, when you think about leading indicators, a lot of the leading indicators that you're going to have likely are in Follow-Up Boss. Likely are in Follow-Up Boss. Most of them, actually. Right? When it comes to sales, when it comes to what you spend, when it comes to what you invest, so much of what you need to know about where you're going comes out of your CRM. But too often, we're so focused on KPIs that are old news, which is like closings and things that have sold. Things that are already under contract, you already know likely what's gonna happen. I'm sure there's a small fallout rate that you're gonna have you're gonna have to make some adjustments when you're forecasting. But really thinking about like, okay, do I know what my cash position is gonna be in all of my companies in the next 90 days? And what I want for all of you to leave today is to think about what would our business look like if we knew exactly what was coming in the next 90 to 120 days? What decisions would we change? What decisions would we keep the same? Everyone here is gonna need so much more visibility into your finances. Now, this sounds crazy coming from the most off-the-charts visionary that you're probably ever gonna meet in me. But I'm telling you from experience. I had a lot of the right vision, right brand, and most of you that know me know we've built a massive brand in our markets, and we've done a lot of that. I'm speaking from experience that none of that front end chasing shiny objects and buying all the leads and creating the brand and doing all these things, none of that matters if you can't keep your finances in order, right? I even see this with local real estate agents that can't manage their taxes, right? And they think that every dollar that comes in that they're spending it before they even pay their quarterlies or any of that. Like, this is a time where you've got to get dialed in. I promise you, You cannot spend your way out of the market that we're in. You can't do it. You could over the last 12 years. You could spend your way out of it because here's the other thing. Here's a real honest moment for everyone here. A real estate commission, you can be slightly off with your operations because of the cost per acquisition. How much commission you earn per customer in some markets is tens of thousands of dollars. You can be off. You cannot get it right with the finance. Your operations can be sloppy. Well, now all of a sudden you cut, the number of homes sold to under 4 million a year and we still have a high agent count. You better get sharp fast. Otherwise, I'm telling you right now, companies like ours are gonna eat other companies for lunch. And I'm dead serious. Like the reason why you're seeing a lot of these mega teams that are growing in the markets, first they have a brand, but they also are watching their finances and their operations as sharp, right? And not everyone here wants to have a mega team, and I respect that. There's so many different ways that you can have success in real estate, which is really respectable because you need to know what you want for your life, and everyone here wants something different, which is perfectly fine. But if you are going to compete in this market and where we are headed with essentially the macro conditions are kind of what they are. I mean, you've heard from a lot of speakers, the rates aren't dropping down to the levels that they used to be, so you better get ready to this being the new normal. And you better figure out how to be super sharp with every single dollar that you spend. Like you can't just go and give the credit card to every single vendor at every single real estate conference and use one of them and don't touch the rest of them and think it's gonna work. Like you used to be able to do that. It was okay to have tons of leads in your CRM and let your agents never call them. It was okay to send one mass email. It was okay to send one mass text. The laws are changing, the process is changing. You're noticing that we're in a world that's very different. The conversations around AI and phone conversations, I hope everyone is watching this because when you see what is happening in the world today, think about the stat, and I don't know the exact stat today, but it's been said 1,000 times over the past several years that there's 100,000 or 200,000 leads generated and 5 million homes sold or whatever the stat is. Imagine a world where the process on the person that first receives the lead never allows it to be sold again. What happens? What happens if the inefficiencies that have been in real estate forever are no longer the same? What if the ops is strong enough that when someone inquires on that one property, they never leave that agent or that team, or they think about selling their house and they never go talk to someone else at an open house because they're already under contract? The reason why so many people have been able to make it in this space is because some other agent or team or broker has neglected their database and it's allowed that lead to go to another company. But if that changes, so does the profitability of all of this. So I want everyone really to hone in and dive in to what are the things that you need to know about your business moving forward. It could be, like I mentioned, it could be in Follow Boss. It could be your answer rate. Like how long does it take you to pick up the phone, right? That could be one of them if you wanted it to be. Everyone here has a different type of model. That could be like, how do we make sure that we never miss a phone call? How do we make sure that we answer every single phone call in less than a minute? Like these are all things, these are very micro level leading indicators that will tell you a lot. How do we make sure that we meet with every single appointment that we set? How do we make sure that we get a second appointment every single time we meet someone for the first time before we leave the first meeting? Right, this is what I'm talking about leading indicators. How do we get super dialed in with that? And if you can get really dialed into that and you add in the purpose, your profit is gonna be in a really good spot. Now here's the really big opportunity for everyone, and that is real estate. The core of what you do has so many opportunities. The integrations of so many different models. Historically, mortgage, title, insurance have obviously been at the top of mind, and a lot of people have integrated those through a lot of different ways. Some have owned them, some have done JVs, some have done partnerships. A lot of different ways to do that. But there's now becoming even more opportunities. You're seeing a lot of you see this happen often. You see a lot of the home services companies are getting acquired right now. It's been happening for several years. That's the same thing that is going to happen here. Because as you look at it, owning that real estate, you can buy homes, you can renovate homes, you can bulldoze them, you can scrape them, you can renovate. Like, you can do all of those things with the same opportunities. Because if you notice, the biggest generation that it was mentioned earlier that own a lot of homes free and clear, and also I would add, a lot of them are in disrepair, and a lot of them have been neglected, and a lot of them are full of clutter. So what things are you going to do in your business to solve that? And when you have the brand, all of a sudden you can add in all of those components in. So I really want you thinking about every house that you list as being the hub. Every house that you list is the hub to all of these other things. I'm not saying get distracted, but I want to get you excited about all of the opportunities. This is coming from someone that has a very mature business with a very well-known brand with a lot of inbound opportunities. The future is super exciting to integrate in a bunch of additional things that are going to provide significant value to customers. I mean significant value to customers. So really think about the next several years in your business where your real estate transactions might be a little less than what they were before, but that creates opportunity. And then I would also really start honing in and getting close to people that are running legit businesses. Not the pretenders of the last 10 years that were just the result of a shot straight up from the macro conditions, but the ones that get excited in this adversity, the ones that are getting energy. I've never been so excited about my business as I am today and about the people that are coming into our world. This has also opened up an entire other side of the business. So you want to think about profitability, the number one ROI of anything in your business is going to be the investment in people by a long ways. There's nothing else that you can make that type of investment and get that type of ROI than people. Right now, there are so many changes happening in the world with jobs, with innovation. There are some of the most talented human beings that you have ever seen in your life that are looking for a change. Ever. Maybe that we'll ever see in our lifetime. That are looking for something different. That are reflecting on the last ride that we just had. Think about in your network and the people that you're connected to, who are the top 10 people that if something changed in their world, you would be super interested in? You're like, oh, if something happened with that person, they would change the landscape. They would change the business. This is the way that you want to start thinking about some of this stuff, because when you look at everything that's going on in today's world, like, you're going to have to get really good at a lot of things. And guess what? We're naturally not great at everything. There's a lot of things that we fall short on. And the areas where we fall short, we need to bring in highly talented people to fill those gaps. Another thing I want to touch on that really comes through all of this is thinking about assessments and evaluating talent. Because talent is the biggest ROI and the thing that's going to lead you to profitability the fastest and really get you to that next level, you have to make sure that you are putting the right people in the right seats. It starts with purpose. If you don't have a purpose match, it's never going to work, just so you know. But once the purpose is right, as soon as you get that dialed in, you better start figuring out exactly what this person has and doesn't have. There's so many different assessments. Some of them are free, some of them cost money. You will never get to a point where you're going to be able to assess people 100%, but I promise you, you can learn a lot from assessments. And the more work you do on the front end, the better it's going to be on the back end. And I've found in our businesses, spending a little extra time making sure that things are right on the front end saves us significantly more time on the back end. But as visionaries, we have that high charging personality where we just want to throw everything forward right away, and we end up in a challenging spot. So think about your people today and get proactive about the people that might be in the wrong seats, like might be just not in the right spot, right? You're gonna have to get proactive and get them in the right spot. The other thing that is, and now I realize I am stereotypical, I mean, there's a little bit of a stereotype here, but a lot of visionaries believe in most people, right? We believe you can do this. Like, I believe you. I sit with someone, I'm like, I want this sometimes more than you want it for yourself. My ability to hire is really poor. It's really bad. It's bad because I believe in everyone. And so I know that about myself, that me going into an interview is problematic because I see the best in everyone. And so make sure that if that's you, that you have some checks and balances so that you don't end up hiring every person that you know, and then you're looking around a year from now and you're like, this didn't work, right? Speaking from experience, I remember when I first started, I hired everyone I knew and I realized like, whoa, like I am really poor at this, right? And those are the things that we don't know along the way. So I just want to make sure that as you really get honed in on your business, make sure you start thinking about the people more. Make sure you start thinking about the finance more and the operations. And they are so boring for visionaries. You want to rip your hair out, right? Because you want the exciting new thing. You want to leave here with the next thing that you think is going to take your business to the moon. And the reality is today, you better get the back end of your business in order fast, like really fast. And that's where I'd spend all of the time. And if you do that, it's gonna look a lot better for your business. And I mentioned earlier, you can't spend your way out of this market. And what I mean by that is that a lot of people in a lot of companies, and I'm sharing this from experience. I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time inside of a lot of different real estate companies around the country. Most companies do not even have controls in place to actually control the spend or to measure if it's working or if it's not. Most. Get some controls in place to make sure that you're in a spot, right, where you know, like, this is what this is bringing, this is what it's not bringing. And start tracking profitability across the board, not only on transactions and lead sources, but also people. Right? Start measuring that and start openly having conversations around all of that. Like, are we profitable here? Is this actually bringing us an ROI? If we give, I remember this, I'm speaking openly here, I remember we had a couple of our tenured agents at one point where we gave them 400 seller appointments and they were selling 10 and we thought they were our top agents at one point in the business. Crazy. Like we're like, wow, like every month they're signing like 10. Well, then we started to realize that we were counting everything in their database to nurture from towards new business, right? And so we were counting, what I meant by that is we were counting everything that they were signing, and naturally the person that had the biggest database would always win, likely, because of the nurture, right? So those are things that we learned around leading indicators and the way that we were tracking KPIs. Like, if someone has a database of 400 appointments that they met over the last several months, naturally they're probably gonna have more people that raise their hand and say, I wanna list my home with you, right? But now we look at, okay, every single opportunity that we give to an agent, now we go, okay, we know what the cost of that is. Now, this is not perfect science, just so everyone knows, especially at a company of our size where you're spending a significant amount with a lot of different marketing and a lot of different branding efforts. You're gonna have to track overall spend and divide it by the number of opportunities. You are not going to be able to track by vanity phone number or landing page or any of those things, because they all start working together. We saw you here, we heard you there, we went here, we talked to this person, we know people that work for you. You'll drive yourself absolutely insane trying to track at that level if you're at a size of ours. So you are gonna have to track overall lift, but you get super dialed in on what the cost of every opportunity is. And then you start taking a deep dive into, okay, what is the conversion rate on signed? What I didn't say is, what is your conversion rate overall? Because no one truthfully knows that number. So anyone that's asking you for that number, that's not a great question to ask, because time changes everything. Right? So is that conversion rate for 12 months, 24 months, 36 months? And the sales cycle just got a lot longer in real estate with higher rates and where everything is at. So taking a deep dive into the sales side of what does this actually look like? What does it look like if we move the conversion rate on initial signed by 1%, by 2%, by 3%, doing lead audits, right? Doing true lead audits, going in and having someone look at Are we saying the right things? Are we saying them at the right time? Are we asking the right questions? Doing appointment audits. We went on an appointment. Is someone calling after that appointment happened? If they didn't sign and agree to work with you, is someone calling to ask how the appointment went? Right? These are all things that we know we should be doing, but these are the indicators that will help you get to profitability faster. See, what happened is over the past several years, all of the bad habits that were formed because of the macro conditions. Erase everything and just start thinking about what should we be doing when a customer comes to us? Should we be just sending it to an agent that we trained for 3 weeks and saying good luck? And no follow-up and no training after the fact and no customer service? Or should we be following up and seeing, even if we don't get the business, should we be learning from it? What happened? What could we do differently? Why did you decide to stay? Like that type of work is what needs to happen in this market. And that's why I said earlier, this is a finance and ops driven market. And you better go find out some very strong ops people quickly. You need them. I'll tell you just my story. We hired Angela as our COO. She's an amazing human being. We hired her from automotive after 25 years. I started thinking about our business. We do a lot of mass media, and a lot of you that follow us, you know, we're all inbound. Everything comes inbound from our brand. What companies do that well? Automotive. And then I went, okay, in automotive, what automotive companies do that well? The right brand, the right purpose, the right KPIs, the right accountabilities, the right structure, the right tech. Go find someone there. If you find someone, insurance would be another one that would work super well. Insurance would be a great one to look at. Just think through like your model, and maybe your model's prospecting. Maybe it's cold calling, door knocking. Maybe it's your sphere of influence, working friends and family. Start thinking about businesses and models that do that well. I'll share this tip with you because this is another one I think is super important when it comes to all of this. Start laying that stuff out and go into LinkedIn and look at every single company that does this super well. Like that does what you need today super well. And start saving the URLs of these people. Start looking at their background. Start diving into what makes this person special. What did they do before? Where did they come from? Like these are the things that you want to be obsessed with. And each of these clues, guess what you'll start finding out? That a lot of the people are coming from similar areas. Oh, I noticed that a lot of them are going to the same university and they're studying the same things, or their first jobs all started here. What if we could go to the first jobs and get some emerging talent and help them develop while we're still bringing in the proven talent? Right? That's where you really want to start thinking about all of this. And you go out and you find the high level talent that's connected to your purpose, and guess what? When they're happy, they go tell their friends and family, and guess what's in their friends and family database? Another rock star. Because rock stars hang out with rock stars, just to make sure everyone knew that. Right? And once you start getting one, then you get another, then you get another, then you get another. And our company is a prime example of that. One after another. Started with Angela, and everyone followed. She's happy. We see what she's doing. She speaks so highly about the experience of everything that she's had here. Now, what is that worth to your business? Not only are they bringing their expertise and their wisdom from where they came from, but now they're speaking super highly around your company, your culture, the purpose, and they're attracting other talent in. See, these things are actually what profit is. When people hear the word profit, they think that they got to go jump in some crazy P&L meeting and start slashing expenses and modeling and things like that. No, just make good decisions with sales and marketing and the rest of it, and the rest will work itself out, but you have to get obsessed, and it has to start today. The same way that so many people spend time in marketing in advertising and sales, like so many of you here. What if you spent just a small ounce of that energy doing that with ops and finance? What would your business look like? If you just took a little bit of that marketing and that advertising, just a little bit of that passion that you have, and put it in operations, and you put it in finance, your entire world would change. But it's boring, and I'm warning you right now. from experience. It's boring and it's frustrating. If you do this, your entire business is gonna change. And this is coming from someone where we've had some amazing human beings and we've sold billions of dollars in real estate, all in a team model, doing exactly what I just said. So thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here and spend time with all of you. I really, really believe that everyone can do this. And special shout out, I've got Victoria, Gina, Emma, and Gianna that came and joined today. My daughter was turned 14 yesterday. We went to a nice Italian dinner. It's the first time they've been here to see me speak, and I brought them with. I said, you gotta skip school. You'll learn more from the people in this room than you will in school for a couple of days. So thank you so much.